Hello. In this clip from our Justia webinar, Retirement Planning Strategies for Law Firm Owners, Darren Worth answers the audience's questions while sharing his final thoughts about lawyer retirement planning. If you want to see more Justia videos on law practice and legal marketing, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Awesome. Thank you so much, Darren. We can now move on to audience questions. Looks like we've already got a few. Good
Right.
feedback here. The first one is, what specific factors should law firm owners consider when calculating how much they need to retire? I know you touched on this a little bit.
Yes. And the calculation does go potentially a lot deeper, but I think the big factors you want to think about, number one, your core budget, your core expenses. What are those, right? And how long do those last, right? If you have a mortgage payment, how long is that going to last? You really want to nail that down. And the reason that's so important is most people underestimate how much they spend. So you really want to get clear on your core budget. Other ones you want to think about, definitely you want to think about how long you will be in retirement. So, we don't know necessarily how long we'll live, but you want to estimate longer than it's better to estimate too long than too short. But you want to think about, are you retiring at 75 or 65 or 55, right? Retiring at 55 is going to take a lot more capital. So I say those are probably the two really biggest ones that you want to think about.
Awesome. Thank you. We also have a question here that says, I started my own firm recently and have just hired my first employee. I'm trying to figure out how to get a 401k or retirement plan set up for the firm for both myself and the employee, as well as maybe future employees. How can you find advice, or how do you have any advice on how specific law firms can approach this?
Yes, great question. Well, hats off to you for hiring an employee and for wanting to have a 401k and provide that benefit. I think that's really, really awesome. I used to send people to Vanguard, and I think that's still a great destination to go, but they actually did just sell their retirement plan services to a census. So if you're fine working with a census, that's a great way to go. It's very inexpensive. We do help people set up 401k plans, so we can talk about that. And we use a third-party administrator to do all of the compliance work. And the third-party administrator that we really love is called July Business Services. They're just so great to work with, and they're relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of other options. But you definitely want to shop around and compare different options that are available to you. There's a wide range of costs potentially, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It really doesn't. A couple $1,000s to set up a plan initially, a few $100s to run it annually is probably what you can expect. So there are some providers who can do it very cost effectively.
Awesome. Thanks for those additional resources, Darren.
Yeah.
We have another question here that says, do you have any recommendations for consistent, predictable revenue generating strategies? This person has a consumer law practice, so they don't always have long-term clients that they can use as a benchmark, but they do want to consistently bring in new business.
Yes, great question. And one of the key, struggles of so many law firm owners. There's, I think, two kind of key areas without it going into too much detail on this. Number one, you want to really understand what that cash flow cycle is like for you, right? Are there key times of the year there where business is slow or business is high, right? Really understand critically what that's like for you. Number two, your accounts receivable, make sure you're getting the money up front. Make sure you're shortening that AR length, the AR time frame. A third one is make sure you have a buffer. We talk all the time about having an emergency fund. Personally, you need to have an emergency fund for your business, right? That's really, really important, especially when you have a highly volatile cash flow cycle. It's really, really critical. The third area, and this is where you can potentially reduce that customer risk that I talked about. One of the most valuable things to buyers of businesses is recurring revenue. So as much as you can potentially innovate and think about, is there a subscription model that I could create for this? is there a way that I can try to, create a service model that evens out this cash flow where I can maybe turn these one-time consumers into maybe repeat customers over time?
Awesome. Thanks, Darren. And I think the last question we have time for today, how do ethical considerations influence the creation of a succession plan, particularly with regards to client communication and confidentiality?
Yes. Great question. Your specific state is going to have really specific, rules that you should follow, and you're going to want to be in close communication with them, right? To make sure that each step that you're following is in accordance with the rules that they have for you. And, but you're right, communication is really, really key, and confidentiality is really, really key. So, you want to make sure that you're protecting those as much as possible. You want to communicate with your clients, make them aware. There's certain rules that each state has, you want to give them proper notification at certain time frames. And then, they ultimately decide who they work with. So different states have different rules about how that handoff happens, but ultimately they decide whether or not they want to continue with a new firm or they want to, receive their client file and not continue with the new firm.
Awesome. Thank you, Darren, for all of those additional insights. And thank you all for your questions. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more law practice and legal marketing videos. See you in our next clip.